Welcome back to Gaelic Games Fan TV. It is the football review show. We're going to be looking back at the weekend's Allianz National Football League action. 16 games in total to run through. Some big talking points, some big games, some big storylines as well, and some big surprises as well. Definitely some results that a lot of people didn't see coming this weekend. It felt like really the weekend where a lot of teams been doubted, been written off, and managed to stand up and fight back against the adversity. And joined by Seamus Brady here to preview the weekend's games. Seamus, how are you doing? You all right?
I'm good, man. I'm good. How are you? Looking forward to jumping into another episode.
Absolutely. What did you make of the weekend as a whole? I mean, it was interesting. Seeing some surprise results definitely in there. I mean, you had Dublin beating Kerry, even ourselves, we didn't think that would happen. Dublin hadn't won in Tralee since 1982, hadn't won in Kerry since 2013. You had Derry battling back against Galway and Mayo beating Tyrone when no one saw that coming. And even going further down the divisions, big wins. Maybe you did. There we go. But you had Cavan beating Loud. Meath with big wins as well. Laois, big win for them versus Sligo. Some big results, it must be said.
Yeah, no, it definitely it echoes what I said to Matthew kind of on his weekend preview show that there was less games than obviously the weeks where we have the hurling on as well, and it feels like we've a plethora and almost too much to keep up with. But all the games this weekend were significant. 3 games into the league is kind of where the table takes shape, and you start seeing who's going to be where, who's going to be fighting for promotion, who's going to be looking over their shoulder and fighting to avoid relegation. So definitely some big results. There's some teams that we would have thought would have been pushing for promotion now that are all of a sudden looking over their shoulder. Sligo springs to mind, a big defeat there to Laois, and all of a sudden they've started off the league with 3 successive defeats and a campaign where a lot of people would have thought they would have been one of the top challenges for promotion out of that division. All of a sudden they're looking over their shoulder. Kerry all of a sudden losing to Dublin. All of a sudden it's looking a bit hairy for them. They have to go away to Mayo, they have to go away to Tyrone, and those are the 2 teams that realistically they're going to have to beat if they want to survive. So crazy, very, very impactful weekend, and looking forward to diving in a little bit deeper. We saw some brilliant results, brilliant wins, some beautiful headbutts, and I'm looking forward to breaking it all down.
Absolutely, I like the little headbutt reference thrown in there as well. Keane says here, some evening lads, some great matches over the weekend. Dublin beating Kerry, Mayo getting up and running finally, Donegal, the pace setters for sure. Please bypass the lead from V Kildare match review. Probably the less said about that, the better. Tom says championship looks wide open. New rules will make it very interesting. Absolutely. As you said, it felt like it was a weekend where a lot of teams kind of bounced back and teams picked up their first wins, and maybe some teams picked up their first losses as well. But Donegal are one team that don't seem to be slowing down. If anything, they look like they're getting better week on week. A very comfortable win versus the All-Ireland champions in the end. 21 points, 2-1-10. A comfortable 8-point win in the end for Donegal. Armagh certainly had their moments in the second half. They made a bit more of a game of it up until obviously that Aiden Forker red card, which the game just completely swung back in Donegal's favour. And Michael Murphy returning, and I'll be honest with you, he didn't look out of place at all. He didn't look like a man who maybe hadn't been playing inter-county football for the last 2 years.
Oh no, he really, really did just kind of take back to it, he never left. And just the atmosphere when he came onto the pitch was just electric. It just looked unbelievable. It really seemed like the king was back. It really was right, the man is here. And then the fact that he intercepted the kick out from Rafferty and then just had the elegance to just kind of step around the defender, to not rush the kick or anything, just as calm as you slotted over the bar with the left foot. And then his second point was even better, in my opinion. The timing of the run and the finish and everything. You're wow, he's not missed a step. And I think he was saying more or less everything that I gathered from his interviews last year. Remember when McGuinness came back initially, and everybody assumed, well, Murphy's going to come back because McGuinness is there, and he didn't last year. And a lot of people continue to ask him in interviews, why didn't you come back? When are you going to come back, etc., etc. And the kind of vibe that he gave off at that time, was someone that is either all the way in or all the way out. He's either 100% in or 100% out. And he's not that type of player that would do a 20-minute stint off the bench and try give the team a boost. He's someone who is going to give it everything he's got, or he's going to walk away from the panel. So the fact that he's in, that tells me that Jim believes he is good enough. Strip away everything else. Strip away who he is, what he's done, the legacy that he has. If you were just to go and watch a match, Jim believes he's still one of the best players that Donegal have. And Michael himself believes that he can contribute to this team. And given that he stayed away last season, making it clear that he wants to be all the way out or all the way in, that tells me we're getting the very, very best of what he's got. Like, there's absolutely no two ways about it. He's not going to be distracted. It's all in to try and win a second Celtic cross. And who would bet against him? Like, honestly, who would bet against him?
Yeah, Patrick says here, hello guys. If Tyrone get Errigal Kieran lads back, they beat Kerry. We'll get on to that. Patrick says Donegal are probably favourites for Sam, and that'll be a good game next week between Galway and Donegal. Yeah, definitely the two early pace setters coming toe to toe.
The thing
next
is,
week.
as well, Donegal have started off the league beating the last three All-Ireland champions. Like, you can't argue with that. That's an amazing start. The best start you could possibly get.
Yeah, no, it was. And like the thing is as well, like the way they beat Dublin and Kerry as well, like I don't think they were at their best necessarily. It just felt like they had it at arm's length. But like when you look at some of the forwards that they have, like when you have Michael Murphy coming back, you have Paddy McBurty, you have Oisin Gallen, Kieran Thompson look very good, Jamie Brennan. Like they probably there is an argument maybe that their firepower coming off the bench isn't maybe as strong as some other counties. But like those three forwards, like especially if you get all them ticking come summertime, that'll be absolutely huge.
Yeah, well, I remember because I was at the Galway game last year in the All-Ireland semi-final stage, and I wonder if Murphy had the same thought process, which kind of influenced him to come back this year. But I was there for the semi-final against Galway, and I just remember thinking, God, the stage is really set for Michael Murphy here. Like, when it was going down into the final quarter, the final third, and Donegal were right there, but Galway were still on top. I was like, if Donegal ever needed now to pull an ace card from the pack, Michael Murphy is still the ace card that you want to be pulling from the pack. And I wonder if he watched that game and kind of thought, God, I'd love to be out there. And I really think I could make a difference. I really think I could leave a mark on this game and help get Donegal into the All-Ireland final. And maybe that has made up his mind for him as to how he is returning. The one thing I will say, though, is Jim McGuinness, in his book anyway, made it clear that like hype wasn't something that he was a fan of. He never really liked when, people were getting almost carried away, etc., etc. And I think he would have loved it last season in the first round of the Ulster Championship, for example, last year, when everybody was talking about Derry winning the All-Ireland and everyone was saying that Derry were the real deal. And Donegal were just able to fly into that game completely under the radar and take Derry out. Now we've got a complete Uno reverse situation where Donegal are going to be flying into that game with everybody saying that they're definite front runners for the All-Ireland, etc., etc. And it's a completely different challenge for McGuinness in terms of managing these expectations.
And some interesting comments here as well. The first one here from Sam says, Derry last year win the league, died to death in the championship. The year before, Mayo win the league, died to death in the championship. Makes you think Donegal are the real deal. The league is codology. And Tom says here, Donegal have a full squad of players and are in top gear. Can this good form and no injuries be sustained? I mean, look, they're both some very good points. I tweeted out last night as well. Both Derry and Mayo both went very strong in the league. In the last kind of 2 years. Obviously Mayo and 23, Derry more so last year. Both won the league. Even some of the teams who got to the final as well, like Dublin last year, kind of had a poor championship. Galway the season previous didn't even get to the last 8 as well, from what I remember. So, I mean, is there any substance to that, or have you seen anything different maybe from Donegal?
No, of course there's substance. That's a great point. The one thing that was slightly different about Derry last season is that they had the whole Mickey Hart factor around the appointment. And I think a lot of people were saying at the time, I I definitely know I said at the time on my pod. If you want to go back and find the episode, God bless you in terms of finding out of all that content. But I definitely was making the point that because he's Mickey Hart and he's a Tyrone legend, I was saying I just don't think he's going to be given that much rope if
If things go
like
wrong.
things go wrong and they hit a bit of turbulence. And the thing is that the minute they hit turbulence, it really went to shit. Like the minute that they hit a speed bump, it was just done. It unraveled so quickly. And I do mean, like, I'd never seen a team look so good to then looking so bad so quickly. And Donegal are different in the sense that they have literally their messiah in charge in Jim McGuinness. So that's a different element. But they definitely need to be careful in terms of managing out the season. I think McGuinness I think it wouldn't hurt Donegal at all. Not in any way saying to lose games. I would never suggest to do that, but maybe now their work is done. If they win one more game, I think their work is done. Kick back, like take the foot off the gas a bit and make sure that you're good to go, because the Ulster Championship is a dangerous competition and tends to burst bubbles.
Yeah, what did you make of Aiden Forker coming on? Bit of an absolute moment of madness, it must be said.
Yeah, and I think he clocked immediately after that. He really messed up. I think, like, look, Murphy comes in. I'm not a big fan of it, to be honest. That whole, like, you know, someone comes on and you just start shouldering them immediately when they come on. It's like, okay, just let him come on, like, for God's sake, like, just get on with the game. But, you know, Murphy locked into a shoulder and a pushing match with him. Like, he's well able to look after himself. And I have to say, I do respect the fact that, like, Murphy didn't go down or he didn't make a big deal out of it, but he did. Like, Murphy was laughing at him. Like, he was like, what are you doing? Like, you're after just giving me a headbutt. And the other thing as well, like, not that it's the point, and I would never advocate for it, but, like, he didn't even wind him or anything. Like, it was the most pathetic headbutt, but, like, it was still technically a headbutt, so he still had to go. And it's just, like, proper stupid. Just like there's no other word for it. Just proper caught up in the moment. I think he was trying to be like, yeah, I'm so crazy. Like, I'll have you right now. Come on, then. And just stitches him all over in the chest. I'm just, I don't know, man. It's just, moment got to his head. And the one thing that isn't great is he's the captain. He's the one who's supposed to keep his head when everyone else around him is losing theirs. He's supposed to be the one that sets the example. And to watch him just completely, Zidane would have been disappointed. It wasn't the most perfect headbutt. And to watch him basically volunteer for a red card when the game was in the melting pot, I think McGeaney will sit down with him and have a word. And look, Forker as well. Like, Forker wasn't protesting, and it's not like after the headbutt he went to swing a box at Murphy. Like, the minute that he did that, he was kind of like, oh shit. He knew, like, probably shouldn't have done that. And I seen one Donegal fan tweeted, actually, said the goat against the Billy goat. So don't know if that's tweet of the weekend.
Yeah, I like that one, to be fair. Gavin says Glass played for Glen as well beforehand. Could have been a difference just in relation to Derry maybe last year. Look,
Paul Doherty, multiple big players.
Yeah, I mean, there definitely are some similarities there. Like, I don't think, because Donegal didn't. I don't think Gallen played the opening week. I think he came off the bench. Obviously, Murphy's only came back for game 3. So it is an interesting one. I do suspect, though, with Donegal, like, I think their opening weekend of the championship, I think, is against Derry. As far as I know, that'll be the week after the league final as well. So I do think you will see Donegal drop off a little bit the more that, you know, the kind of weeks go on. But I think for now, you know, enjoy the wins, and absolutely they should. In fairness, Sam says, in fairness to Forker, he'll probably wake up this morning and feel stupid because he doesn't come across as that kind of fella. Yeah, absolutely not. Like, Armagh captain, do you know what I mean? You would think of all the players to have a bit of sense there. It was a moment of madness, and look, ultimately it happens. It's happened in the league game. It's probably, you know, not one really that people will remember. Like, I think it will be forgotten about very, very quickly. And you know, obviously Forker
But that's the other thing
suspended
as
for the
well, like,
next
is
game.
that
But
I don't think it was malicious. Like, I don't think he like was trying to hurt Murphy. I think he was just trying
yeah,
to be like, I don't know, show him how tough he is. You're not going to push me around like that type. Like, I think it was a bit of, I don't give a shit that you're Michael Murphy. I'm going to get stuck into you, like that type of energy. It wasn't vicious. Like, in my opinion, I've seen examples in the past where I'm like, that's not tough, it's dirty. Like, examples of Philly McMahon sticking the eye in Donaghy, the hand in Donaghy's eye. Seamus Flanagan hitting Niall O'Leary in the balls with the hurl. Like that, those stuff isn't tough. It's crossing the line and being a bit dirty. Whereas I don't think this incident was vicious. I don't think he was like trying to hurt Murphy. I think he was just trying to show how tough he was, and you're not going to push me around. And I think he just went about it the wrong way. I think if he had just shoved him one more time, it would have been grand. The other thing as well is I feel like in the clip you can see him winding up a little bit, like he wants to do it, and Murphy just kept pushing him. And then eventually when
yeah,
Murphy left it, he headbutted him in the chest, and then he was immediately like, "Oh, shouldn't have done that." And
yeah.
like look, it definitely derailed Armagh. Definitely helped to derail them, but Donegal were well worth the win.
Yeah, Oren says here Donegal will aim for 8 points and set their eyes on Derry in the championship. Can't see them even entertain and winning the league. Yeah, look, I mean, if they're in the league final, I mean, look, they will go for it, I'm sure, but I don't know if they'll be as strong as the team they're playing. It will obviously depend on who's in the league final with them. But I think if you get a Dublin in the league final who have to play in Leinster, Galway, even to a certain extent, don't have as many. Like, obviously, you have Mayo and Roscommon in there, but they don't have as many games to prepare for as what Donegal would. And obviously, if Kerry get there, it's the same kind of scenario as well. Moving on, then it was Kerry 115, Dublin 19 points. Dublin coming back from 11 points at half time. There were 12 points down at one stage in the first half. I mean, as far as Dublin comebacks go, I struggle to remember one better, to be honest with you. Like, to do this to Kerry away in their own home ground. I know, look, they were missing players as well. They weren't exactly at their best. But when you look at some of the players that Dublin were missing as well, like, to produce a performance like that and have lads step up, like, definitely bodes well for the Dubs, I think, after a big win like that.
It certainly did. And like you were running through the stats kind of before we got into the games about how long it's been since Dublin have beaten Kerry, and like they haven't away from home, that hasn't been done since 2013. And you think you said haven't won a Tralee since 1982, were you saying?
Yeah.
Like, that's crazy. Like that's a generational victory then. Like it's a history making victory. And on top of that, it's also history making in this fact that it's the first time that Dublin and Kerry have ever met with the new rules. And the first meeting of Dublin and Kerry with the new rules is going to be crystallized in the memory as the time that Dublin came back from a huge deficit at half time and got over the line. And I have to say, in the first half, I was watching this game. I watched the full game in Kennedy's pub down near Croke Park, and I wasn't drinking, but after the first half I felt like I needed a pint because I mean we looked way off the pace. Kerry looked like they had the game absolutely wrapped up in the first half. We held Kerry to 3 points in the second half. Like, that's incredible. Forward line of the Cliffords, Shawnee O'Shea, to hold them to 3 points in an entire half of Gaelic football is absolutely unbelievable. And then at the same time, to mount the comeback that we did, thought Sean Bugler was outstanding. Lee Gannon was great until he got injured. I hope that it's not too serious and he can be back sooner rather than later, because once the hamstring starts going, it's very difficult to get completely back to yourself. But the players that we still have to come back in, man, Con O'Callaghan still has to come back. Like, how important his influence can be. John Small. Like, we've a lot of big lads to come back in, and we're looking in decent shape, I have to say. And I was really, really impressed with this win. This was the type of game where I wasn't expecting anything out of it. I really wasn't, because as like we've said, the trips to Tralee are always difficult. But to come out not just with something, but with both points, take it and get on the road, and delight with that.
Yeah, absolutely. Like, so when I watched this game, I was in Wexford, just had a bit of a house gathering amongst friends and everything else. And you were watching the game, me and another Dublin fan, we were thinking 11 points down at half time. It kind of flattered Dublin, to be honest with you. It felt like we should, it nearly felt like it should have been maybe 14, 15 points would have been an accurate scoreline. And you were hoping in this, I was just hoping in the second half, look, we're playing, I think, with the breeze in the second half. Let's try and make this a bit more of a game of it. Let's make a bit of a battle of it, and try and kind of bring the scoreline down and have it as a bit of a respectable defeat. But the more the game went on, the more you just started to believe. And those final 10 minutes, and we've seen this a lot of time with Dublin Kerry as well, where it's in those final couple of minutes where Dublin just about pull away. And like, you have to commend Lorcan O'Dell coming off the bench, Luke Bretnick as well. Both were absolutely brilliant. Kieran Kilkenny really stood up like the leader he is. Lee Gannon, as you said, obviously, hopefully it's, nothing serious, but I thought he was very good. And a lot of very good performers in the end for Dublin.
Certainly. And then the key thing as well, as you've mentioned, Luke Bretnick, Lorcan O'Dell, like, they're all part of the new generation. They're part of the next crop of, Dublin stars. And like, the thing that I was saying to you is, like, last time that we tried to pass the baton on to the next generation was 2021, 2022. And we went scrambling back to the old generation, being like, no, please come back. Because, we're after getting relegated from Division 1 and we're not looking like All-Ireland contenders. And then the band came back together and we went on, an incredible journey and won the All-Ireland and looked unbelievable in the early stages of the league last season before, the wheels came off against Galway. But point is that you're hoping that the lads are ready to take the baton off them this time, because, there is a time when they're all going to be gone. Fenton's gone, McCarthy's gone, Mick Fitz is gone, Mannion's gone, McCaffrey's gone, Cluxton is still there, but for how much longer? Like, it's crazy how many players we've lost in the last few years, but a win like that is a statement that these lads might just be ready to take the mantle from the old generation and become the mainstays of this Dublin team. And like, as Matthew was saying on my show yesterday, like, players now like Sean Bugler, who was a youngster on the 2019-2020 teams, now he's like the man in the forwards, and he is really leading from the front. Every game in the league so far this season, he's been brilliant, and his form is absolutely exceptional. Hopefully he keeps it up.
Yeah, absolutely. Alan says, fabulous win and missing 8 players and more history made. Dublin haven't gone away. Oren says here, I think with the wind, Kerry should have started Clifford. Clancy had him clamped down when he came on. Destination Newry says here, Donegal and Dublin, eyes are only on an All-Ireland mostly, and if the route's right, they will meet each other in a final. There we go. That could be interesting.
Final since '92. That would be good.
Yeah. Hopefully not a repeat of that one though. Mikey says Kerry are chokers. Credit to Dublin, but Kerry shot themselves in the foot. No strategy or plan B when they lost their kickouts. Dubs didn't even have to shoot the lights out. Kerry gave them second chances. And A2 says Kerry mentally weak. Still long may it last. Yeah, look, there are some interesting points in there as well. Like, in fairness, like, it was interesting. Like, going into the final 10 minutes, I think there was still 6, 7, 8 points in it. Like, Kerry still felt relatively comfortable. It wasn't like at the start of the second half we just came out all guns blazing and turned it around like you kind of see in these kind of matches. It felt like it was just in the last couple of moments we just picked their moments, and we turned up probably for the last 15. But if you are a Kerry fan, I can understand the frustration, because too often we've saw Kerry in these type of games over the last couple of years sort of wilt away. And look, they were, obviously Clifford came on playing against the breeze, was probably a bit of a difficult game for him to come back to, in fairness. So, I don't think you can apportion any of the blame to him. But like, especially when Paddy Talley was there with Kerry, we kind of resonated Kerry with this very strong physical team, very strong defensively. But at times in that second half, especially physically, losing the second balls, losing kickouts as well, definitely would be some cause of worry to Kerry, do you think?
It would be a little bit of cause of worry, but I definitely wouldn't go overboard. However, this season it's the final chance, really, in my opinion, for Jack O'Connor. I think, in my opinion, if Kerry don't win the All-Ireland this season, I would be stunned if Jack is still there. I think the only way that I would see him staying if they didn't win an All-Ireland is if they lost in the final in an epic or something. I think that's the only way I could see him staying, where that a flip of a coin and Kerry would have won it. Because last year they fell off at nowhere and like they looked a million miles off from the team that they had been 2 years ago. Like they really did, and like really flattered to deceive. I think 2023 losing that final to Dublin took a lot out of them, because it felt like they'd lost to the team that they had never quite beaten. Like they won in 2022, but it was against a Dublin team that was missing Con, Cluxton, Mannion, McCaffrey, like so many big players. And then 2023 was like Dublin had the band back together, and this was the team that had, done the 6 in a row. Yes, without some big players, but it was the team that had done the 6 in a row. And for Dublin to grind out the win, I think that set Kerry back a lot, and that they hadn't been able to pick it up until this point. And going into 2025, I think it's win or bust for Jack O'Connor and Kerry. And I think if they can't win the All Ireland, which I don't think they will, to be honest, I think his latest era, I don't even know what to call it, because it felt like he's been there my entire life, but his latest era will come to an end.
Yeah, absolutely. Shane says here, I was at the game. It wasn't a monumental comeback. It was always possible with the breeze. Where we went wrong was we didn't build up enough of a lead with the breeze. Yeah, no, look, that is fair enough. I did think, I remember saying
how much is enough of a lead?
But especially with these new rules as well.
That is true. That is true. That when Gannon got the 2-pointer, when O'Dell got his couple of 2-pointers, like all of a sudden the gap, there'd been a massive chunk taken out of the Kerry lead. But that's not me even being like cheeky or anything. Like genuinely, I'd be interested to know how much points people think is a lead that you need to have when you have a big win in the first half. Because genuinely, I wasn't there. I don't know how strong the win was. Did it need to be 15 points, 16 points? Because we've seen it in hurling. Like Cork were, 11 points up at halftime against Limerick in the Munster Championship. We all knew Limerick were going to come back. And it was a question of, could Cork hang on? So maybe that's the way Gaelic football is going too.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, no, it is interesting. You would think an 11-point lead should be enough for Kerry, especially at home to Dublin, a Dublin team that were missing so many big players. But at the same time, with these new rules, like we're still kind of finding things out as we go along. It must be said. We had Galway against Derry. It finished Galway 16 points. Galway 1-13. Ended up level in the end. Derry get their first point on the board in 2025 as Galway's 100% winning record comes to an end. Couple of late points from.
Didn't you? You called this one spot on, didn't you?
Did I? Did I say a draw?
I swear you did. I could be wrong.
Maybe I did.
Maybe Matthew did.
I can barely remember yesterday, man. I don't know. Maybe we'll go back and have a look. If I did get it right, well, look, it makes up for all the horrendous predictions that have, that have been there. But yeah, look, Derry battled back, and look, at one stage, like I didn't watch the game live now, to be honest with you. I was kind of keeping an eye on the score, and you were thinking Galway were pulling away, Galway were looking comfortable, but like Derry, they battled back very hard towards the end. And I will give Derry fans a little bit of positivity. Like, one thing I would say is, though, although Derry haven't won any of their 3 league games, I don't think they've necessarily like been poor or anything of that nature. I think there have been moments where they've been poor, definitely, but they have showed fight, and I think that is at least something that Derry fans will be happy with, given how last year ended, where it looked like they almost had no fight at times.
Certainly, I feel like coming into this league campaign, I was thinking this could go like the Donegal one went 2 years ago. Remember when Paddy Carr was in, and basically after one game, all the Donegal lads were like, look, we don't want you. Because I was looking at how Tally had been appointed, where he clearly wasn't Derry's first choice. And I thought, if there's a hiccup here in the league, I could see, a bit of a player power move. I genuinely maybe was making a bit of a rash judgment, but I thought the conditions are primed here for a potential disaster. But the truth is, you watch their performance against Kerry, even especially after the Tyrone game, I was even more convinced that it was going to go badly, because they were bad that day. But the Kerry game, they showed a lot of fight, and this one they showed a lot of fight as well, because this game would have been very easy for them to just roll over and accept defeat, given how good Galway are. And they battled back into the game and rescued the draw right at the end. And that draw will be massively important if Derry are to stay up, because it's just broken your losing streak. And when you look at like Mayo, Kerry, now all of a sudden you get a win on the board in a week where they slip up, all of a sudden you could be back in terms of keeping yourself up in Division 1, because Division 1 is going to be so dog eat dog that you don't know how it's going to play out, and all you can do is focus on yourself. But I stand by that point that Breen Tyres made in week 1, and the point that I've been making is, if you don't win your home games, you're in for a tough ride, because the away days are going to be so difficult in this division. And that's actually why I do look at Kerry with, a little bit of nerves, because, now they have to go away to Mayo and they have to go away to Tyrone. And like, you're thinking, like, they're going to be bang up for that, Tyrone and Mayo, like getting Kerry in their home patch where they will need to win. Like, Mayo and Tyrone will need those points as well to stay up. And we've seen it, Dublin going down. Nobody thought Dublin were going to go down at the start of that season, but all of a sudden we lost a couple of games and it was like, oh shit, like this is probably going to happen. And you just don't know. You just don't know. And like, the truth is, every team that lost this weekend or didn't win, maybe apart from Galway, needs to win their next game.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Like, I think it was huge for Derry, especially how results went. You're looking at Mayo obviously winning, and everyone kind of has points on the board. Derry would have been the only team to not have points on the board. So, yeah, absolutely huge for Derry to bounce back. And I suppose for Galway, like, they will be disappointed. They left a little bit behind them. But Shane Walsh, like, it must be said, like, especially with these 2-pointers, like, I mean, like, I feel like these new rules might have been introduced for Galway in particular, because they have so many players who can benefit from these new rules.
Yeah, and the good thing about Walsh is, like, he just looks like he's found his mojo again, doesn't he? Like, his first 2-pointer that he kicked was with such presence, like, it was with such authority. It was really like, give me the ball, I'll stick it over. Like, real confidence, real swagger, back to the Shane Walsh that we know and love. And I love seeing him sort of stuff. I think in terms of his skill and his talent, he's truly a box office player. He's truly a player that you would pay in to watch. And especially with the new rules, we're going to see a lot of, real worthy Shane Walsh points. And definitely, like, I threw one up there over the weekend for TGR, like the double that he got from the 2-point arc. And yeah, he's been the business so far for Galway. And, the fact is that this is the first season now in quite a while, it feels like, where they haven't had to manage Walsh off the back of a long campaign with Kilmacud Crokes. He's had 3 seasons in a row now where they've gone to the bitter end. And yeah, just getting to get him in early and training with the county team and not having to manage out his recovery from Kilmacud into Galway is a massive plus for Pádraig Joyce. And if they can get Comer back in fit, Finnerty back in fit, like, they have a very good squad. And I genuinely think, like, if you have to push me on it now and say, right, Seamus, pick a winner for the All-Ireland, I think it's one of Donegal, Galway and Dublin for me at this moment. I wouldn't rule out Armagh. I wouldn't rule out Kerry. I wouldn't rule out anyone in Division 1, to be honest, and even Roscommon as a dark horse from Division 2. But, like, I will state for Armagh, if you look in the history books, anytime a team wins an All-Ireland after a long, long, long time without winning an All-Ireland, they very rarely go back-to-back.
Yeah.
And that includes Dublin in 2011, fell off in 2012. Donegal in 2012, fell off in 2013. Limerick in the hurling, 2018, fell off in 2019. So it's very hard to do. And I don't expect Armagh to break the curse, as talented as they are.
Yeah. Not only do they not do back-to-back, but usually there is a considerable drop-off, like when we've looked at the teams the following years. And look, it will be interesting to see what Armagh. Look, nobody's doubting them. To be fair, they definitely have levels to go up on. Like, I have a feeling Ulster might maybe be where they, are victorious, because they haven't won that in so long, and maybe in the All-Ireland then there's a bit of a drop-off. But look, obviously, we'll have to wait and see when that comes around. Oren says here, Derry should have won as well, dropped three shots short, and had 3 very bad misses inside 30 yards. And also says here, Derry still get McCluskey, Cormac Murphy and Niall Loughlin back, and Murray and McGrogan only getting back from injuries as well. Rian says Galway were very good first half, but then slowed down in the second half. The points are doing good for Galway. If Comer can be fit, we have a good chance this year. Mikey says Derry improving, but it is too late. Cheers everyone who's lots of comments flying in, so very much appreciate if you could hit the like button and subscribe. It does help, so that would be brilliant. And Mayo got off to a winning I was going to say a winning start, but they got their first win. They beat Tyrone 12 points, 2-10. I was in the car coming back from Wexford, and I heard on the radio it was a point apiece after 20 minutes, and I thought, I'm actually a little bit happy now I'm not watching this, because I was kind of thinking, I would like to watch this. No, I have watched the highlights back and everything else, of course, but Mayo in the end, from how I've heard it and from what I've seen, they dogged the win out, really, is how it should be said. And fair play, because I think a lot of people had been doubting Mayo's ability to do that in recent times.
Yeah, no, it was a game where it was an arm wrestle. It wasn't a pretty game of football. It wasn't one for the purists. It wasn't one for the people who are really excited about the new rules. We only seen a couple of 2-pointers. I think Jordan Flynn, he hit one when he came on. Yeah, like Zia was saying there, 1 point in the first 11 minutes. Like, it was Tyrone took a long time to get their first point. I think it was 15 minutes, and it was Niall Morgan that got it. Look, the reality is, this game wasn't the best game of Gaelic football, but Mayo picking up a win is so important because it's at home. It's against Tyrone. I said that I expected the Mayo bite back because that's what we tend to get when their backs are against the wall. And maybe that win just tips them over into, like, maybe they'll get a second one, and then maybe the wheel will start turning, and all of a sudden we'll be all saying Mayo for Sam, and Aaron, you'll be predicting them to win the All-Ireland again.
Maybe. I don't know. I don't know if I'll make that mistake again.
But genuinely, they did look determined to get over the line. Like, there's a lot of fight in that Mayo team. You can never question their hunger and their work rate and everything like that. They still made a meal out of finishing it. Like, I will maintain that. I still wasn't 100% impressed with them. They missed chances going down the home stretch. The Conor Reid chance is the one that sticks out, where you're like, God, you have to finish that. And it was kind of, would I say, classic Mayo, in the sense that, like, they got over the line, but they made you sweat. Like, they made you think, like, oh, Jesus, like, they're not good for the heart, are they? Like, they always find a way to make it as dramatic as humanly possible in getting over the line. But definitely going down the home stretch, I just felt like they were going to just about do it and get over the line. And they were worthy winners. Tyrone were poor in the second half. I don't know what happened with their forward line. Like, they've got a lot of talent out there. Darren McCurry, Mark Bradley, Colin McShane came off the bench. Like, they just looked toothless in the second half, and they do need the Cannibals to come back as quick as possible. And that's something that, when you look at the level of talent that they have in the team, it's something that I'm a little bit surprised by. Because, like, Armagh, they were pretty toothless in that game as well. And you just be surprised, because I would have thought they would have had more threats. I thought this would be a high score. I genuinely thought Mayo would win, but I thought it would be like 20 points to 115 or something. I thought it would be a high scoring one, not the low scoring arm wrestle it proved to be. But Mayo won't care. McStay won't care. They've got to win. And now they're only 2 big wins, big performances away from potential survival.
No, it is mad how much it can, it can switch and it can change. And in fairness, like, it felt more like kind of your run-of-the-mill league game rather than the kind of league matches we've been seeing this year. I was like, when I seen the scoreline, I was like, that's the National Football League I know. Nice little drub, 12-10.
This is why we changed the rules.
But there we go. Patrick says here, Mayo Tyrone was a very rough watch, but glad Mayo got the points on the board. Gavin said, damn it, Tyrone, this could have been Mayo relegated. This was the no-brainer. This was the banker. This was the one that couldn't fail. I can't do my Gary Neville impression isn't quite there. This is the one that's never failed. But there we go. As Yo says here, I watched it for about 10 minutes during the Roscommon halftime. It wasn't a great watch. They missed O'Shea in the first game. O'Shea definitely made a big influence. As Patrick says here as well. And Mikey says here, I thought Mayo finished strong for once, which is unusual under McStay. The positive for Tyrone is that they have big players to return Mayo ceiling not as high. Yeah, probably a little bit of concern there from a Tyrone perspective. But as you said, they do have some big players to come back in. This is how the Division 1 table looks then. So we've got Donegal sitting pretty at the top there with 6 points. Galway are second with 5. Dublin move up to third with 4 points. And then you've got a flurry of teams there on 2 points. Kerry, Tyrone, Armagh, and Mayo with 2 points. And then you've got Derry sitting at the bottom as well.
Genuinely, that top three of Donegal, Galway, and Dublin, I think, are the only three that I would confidently say right now will not go down. I think all of the rest of them, I wouldn't be surprised if any of the rest of them go down.
Yeah. I mean, some big games there, like even looking at next week. And shout out as well to GEA League Tables, who are doing some, they do some tremendous work on Twitter every year, and they definitely deserve it. And I'll shout out there. But they've put the round 4 fixtures in there, which is nice, so you can actually see them there as well. But you've got like Tyrone versus Kerry next week. I mean, that's a massive game. Like whoever loses that could be in big trouble.
Well, that's the thing, is that we were talking about, and I was making the point of saying like whoever loses their home games is staring right down the barrel. And Kerry have had 2 home games and they've lost them both. And like, albeit it is to Dublin and to Donegal, like 2 teams that are up there at the top of the division, but like that's meaning that you're leaving yourself a mountain to climb. And like Tyrone at Healy Park, like in Omagh, they're going to be right up for that one, especially when they look at their own situation and go, we need a win. They're going to be bang up for that one. And the prospect of Tyrone potentially pushing Kerry closer towards relegation, I don't think they'll pass up on that opportunity. I really, really think it could get sticky very, very quickly for any of those teams below the top 3.
Well, it's great to see, and look, to be fair, that's what we expected coming into the league this year, because so many of the Division 1 teams we were saying are all so even. There's very little between a lot of them, and it could be a little bit chaos and a little bit crazy. Looking at Division 2, starting off, first of all, we'll take a look at Roscommon versus Monaghan. Roscommon 24 points, Monaghan 214. Big comeback in the end from the Rossies, when it looked like maybe Monaghan were about to pull off what would have been a sensational win, going away to the Rossies and pulling off the result. But Roscommon came good in the final quarter and they win out massively. 3 wins on the bounce. You would feel like Roscommon probably have 1 foot in Division 1 now.
They certainly do. In my opinion, that they're doing what they do. Like they're masters at getting out of Division 2, and they usually top the table every time. They have been fantastic with these new rules, particularly one player I'm going to give the big shout out. Dermot Murta looks reborn with these new rules. I personally think this is the best form I've ever seen Dermot Murta in. Like he seems to be kicking 4 or 5 points now every game for Roscommon, and it's against good defenses. Like Down had solid man markers on him, and then in this game, like against Monaghan, like he has Killian Lavelle hanging off him. Like he's doing it against some really, really good defenders. And look, for Roscommon, they want to get back up to the top level as quickly as they can, because the longer you spend away from it, the tougher it is. But like Mikey says it there, like you look at some of the lads that Roscommon were bringing in off the bench. Like Connor Cox kicked some gorgeous points coming in off the bench. He's a real sharpshooter and someone that could really thrive with the 2-point arc. Players that they weren't even featuring, players like Ben O'Carroll, Dara Craig, like they weren't even involved this time. You haven't even mentioned yet people like Downey Smith, Enda Smith. Like Roscommon are stacked. It's just a question of, we have seen this before. We have seen them top Division 2 and go up, and people start talking up their All-Ireland aspirations. I've yet to see them break that glass ceiling. I've yet to see them win a game that makes me be like, outside of Connacht, by the way, big respect for beating Galway and for beating Mayo and winning Connacht championships and everything like that. But Galway and Mayo have broke the glass ceiling in terms of they've had wins, both of them, that have made me been like, oh shit, like, and made me really sit up and take notice. Roscommon haven't really had that yet, in my opinion. I think they're well capable of doing it this year, but they have to kick on, because we've seen Galway take out Dublin last season and beat Donegal to get to the final. We've seen Mayo always seem to take out the defending All-Ireland champions. Roscommon haven't been able over the last few years to lift their level the way that Mayo and Galway have. but I think they're well capable of it. And with these new rules and Davy Burke at the helm and the talent that they've got, and they've got a brilliant goalkeeper as well in Conor Carroll, they're looking the business right now.
Yeah, absolutely. Gavin says, hated Burke ball in 2024, slow, awful football, only won 3 games last year. Some of the best forwards in Ireland's great to see them go for it. Yeah, he's definitely changed it up from what I've seen with Roscommon this year. Like, it does feel like he's recognized the players, the talent of those forwards, and the shackles have come off a little bit. My hope is that, you know, they aren't just doing this because they're in Division 2 and they know they're playing lesser opposition, and so there's less risk, if that kind of makes sense. I hope they do continue to play like this in the championship, because sometimes what has happened with Roscommon, as you've said, in Division 2, where they're playing a little bit lesser opposition, they have a little bit more space and everything else. They play this beautiful brand of football, but then when they get to Connacht and a little bit later on in the year, you know, that can be sometimes when when things go south. And as well as that, I've always felt like with Roscommon, like when their confidence is low, they can be very beatable at times, and their confidence can sort of dip very, very quickly. So we'll be interested to see if they do have any setbacks in the division.
That's been the disappointing thing. They've, like, over the last 2 years, they've bowed out of the championship at the hands of Clare and Cork in games where they were very much expected to win. So you're bang on with that point there.
Yeah, I mean, I had a big win against Tyrone last year, which made me kind of be like, okay, all right, maybe there's something in this. Albeit Tyrone did look like
Tyrone were no good last year. Tyrone were nowhere near the level that they're capable of last year.
Yeah, Patrick says here, Roscommon v Galway and Connacht round 1 is shaping up to be a cracker. 2 teams doing brilliantly under the new rules. Yeah, it is an interesting point, and look, the last 2 All-Ireland winners have come from Division 2, so Roscommon fans can remain positive indeed. Down 118, Meath 24 points. I was going to say something else there, but I decided not to. But big win in the end for Meath. They get over the line versus Down. Massive win. I've seen Davy Rispin actually on Twitter say that this was one of the best wins for Meath in a long, long time, just considering how good Down have looked over the last couple of years. I know Meath obviously beat them in the Tailteann Cup a couple of years ago in the final and everything else, but for Meath to go to Newry and win, a Meath team that's looked very much sort of on the floor the last couple of years, this win blows it wide open, and you'd have to say, you know, strong chances maybe for an Meath promotion.
Yeah, no, they're definitely in the running. Do you have the table there handy?
I do actually. Yeah, I'm just gonna upload. I'm gonna have it here. I'll upload it.
Okay, no bother, because I genuinely mean it. Like, Meath since the start of the league have looked like serious. Like, I mean, you take a look at it there, level on points with Monaghan, who obviously lost to Roscommon there. I don't think Louth are going to be able to quite compete. Cork, yeah, I think it's obviously between themselves, Cork and Monaghan. I still wouldn't rule out Down for making a late dash for it, but Meath going away to Down and beating them is a hell of a result. The game next week against Roscommon, that'll tell us all we need to know. If Meath can get something out of the Roscommon game, then I'm sold on them. Because Roscommon, as we said there, they look the business in terms of 3 games, 3 wins, the scores that they're putting up and everything. But the one thing that Meath have shown in all of the games so far in this division, whether it was the defeat to Cork or the 2 wins that they've had since, is that they're putting up big tallies and they're creating lots and lots of chances. Like, they're constantly getting chances to shoot and they're taking the shots on. And you can pretty much guarantee they're going to run up a big tally in every game that they play. They look better than they did this time last year under O'Rourke. Would you agree with that?
Oh yeah, absolutely. Miles bear, and like the numbers they're putting up as well.
The mentality, man. I could not believe it. How just accepting Meath were last year. Just coming up and they were like, yeah, we're going to get the shit beaten out of us, and then we'll go home. I was like, that's not how Meath are supposed to go into these games against Dublin. They're supposed to be the team that stand up to Dublin more than anybody else. And that's the way that they've always been. And they haven't been like that now for, I would say, the turning point kind of came around 2015, 2016, I think. You even go back to 2012, 2013, when they had the team with Mickey Newman and Eamon Wallace and Mickey Burke, and like they still stood up to Dublin, even though Dublin were roaring favourites in those games. But it looks like it might be coming back to where it should be, because you look at like Robbie Brennan coming in, the mentality that he's bringing in as someone who's won the All Ireland Club Championship with Kilmacud Crokes and knows what it takes to get a forward line to gel. Because while you're saying, okay, this is intercounty, that Crokes forward line was as good as an intercounty forward line. Like they had Walsh, Mannion, Darren Mullen, Shane Cunningham, Shane Horan, like ridiculous talent. And he managed to gel it into a really, really cohesive, effective forward line. And you look at me, the form of Jordan Morris, the form of Owen Frayne, the talent that they have in other players around that, like Jack O'Connor, Jack Flynn, like Meath looked the business so far this year, and going away to Port Esler and beating down. If they can get something out of the Roscommon game, then I'll be sold on them going up. Really will, because Roscommon is as difficult to match up for anybody in Division 2. They are the best team in Division 2, Roscommon are. And if Meath can get something out of that game, then they can get something out of any game in the division. And Leinster and the GAA needs Meath. We've been saying it for years, but we really do. If Meath can go out and put it up to Dublin and Leinster, or beat Dublin and Leinster, which would be nuts, I guarantee 2026 Leinster Championship, there'd be a high attendance at the next Dublin Meath game.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I do agree. Look, as I know as Dublin fans, sometimes you like to, banter the likes of Meath and Kildare. I think the banter has probably been dead, to be fair, the last probably 7 or 8 years, because there's been nothing really to banter about. Like, do you know what I mean? When you're
it's not even banter, it's sad. It's like,
it's dead banter, really, dead banter.
Like, with United, it's like Man United right now. It's like they're down to 15th under Ruben Amorim. It's like, Jesus, you really are shit. So he's like, I'm not even bantering you, and I actually just feel sorry for them. Like,
yeah.
Like, yeah, watching them lose. You don't. You don't feel bad for United.
Yeah. Anyway, but yeah, no, I look absolutely. And look, to be fair, a lot of Leinster teams are doing well actually so far, in the league, which I think is great to see. Like Kildare are going very strong. Leash, we'll get onto them a little bit later. Wexford are going good in Division 4. So it is nice to see the Leinster teams do well, in fairness. And one Leinster team that actually gave a good go at this game as well. They got beaten by Cork in the end by a point. But from what I heard, they gave this a right game. 3-18 to 3-17. Chris Oak-Jones with 3-4. I've seen someone put out a tweet and say Chris O'Halland, which I did like, to be fair. But like Westmeath gave this a fair old go. And although Westmeath have had 3 defeats so far, they haven't exactly been completely blown away in a lot of the games. And they definitely, although they've lost 3, look, and they probably will go down, but they definitely have given themselves a bit of a chance with these recent performances.
They certainly have, and they've given themselves something to cling to. That, like, they're right in there. They're not a million miles off, and it was always going to be difficult with Desi Dolan stepping away as manager, Dermot McCabe coming in, and then he comes in, and the first thing that happens is he loses his 2 best forwards. John Heslin steps away, Ronan O'Toole steps away. And that's the worst possible start. Like, you can't add a worse start than losing those 2. And the way that they've gone about the 3 games that they've had, even though they come out the wrong side of the results, they've definitely got stuck in all the games. I think the one that they'd be disappointed now, looking in hindsight, is losing at home to Louth. I think that they would have maybe put a pin in that one and said maybe we can win that one with it being a local Leinster rivalry and everything like that. But at the time, I was looking at Louth as, potential promotion chasers, so that needed to be a game that Louth win. Sorry. But yeah, look, they're giving themselves something to cling to. There's a way to get relegated, as stupid as that sounds. If you get relegated and you go down swinging and you take every team to, the final whistle, and you take every team, to within an inch of its life, then you know that you're at that level. You know that you belong at that level. And you know that you can get back up there, especially if they go down to Division 3 and end up in a similar position like Kildare are right now, where they're on a one-way ticket out of the division, and that they probably won't be back for a long time, because I really like the look of Kildare under Flanagan, obviously, side note. But yeah, still positives for Westmeath, even though they are going to probably go down.
Yeah, we had Cavan, who got a big win as well, 3-15.
Versus promotion.
Yeah.
I really think it's that simple, man. Like, if you're losing this game to a team that are in the relegation battle, and now you're down there with them. Now Louth are down there with them. Like, if you bring up the table there, I think they're 2 points out of 3 games. Are they be behind Cavan now?
There we go.
No, but not much in it. Literally -6 to -12, like 6 points in the score difference. Cavan took a bad beating. I think it was off Meath in game 2, and they took a fairly bad one off Monaghan in the first round. But like, yeah, to lose by 6 points to Cavan, I don't see you then beating Monaghan. I don't. I think
Yeah.
the new rules might have really done Loud dirty, to be honest.
Yeah, like they haven't been, like when you look at how much they've been scoring, like they've been averaging in and around about 17, 18 points per game, which
Matthew was saying only Mulroy has over 10.
yeah, like it is a little bit worrying. And look, in the game, you would look at it and think, all right, Cavan, 6-point win, it must have been comfortable enough. There were actually 2 late goals, so Conor Madden and Gerald McKernan both scored goals in injury time, I believe. So that was kind of what tipped the tide, and Cavan obviously went on to win it a little bit more comfortably from when that second goal goes in or third goal goes in. But it is a massive setback for Louth, it must be said. And Gavin says here, massive win, huge win for Cavan. It was looking very bleak. Yeah, absolutely. I felt like they had to win that game, to be honest with you, to give themselves a chance. But yeah, looking at the Division 2 table, as we were saying there, so Roscommon sitting pretty with 6 points on top. Monaghan, Meath, and Cork all joined second with 4 points. You've got Louth down and Cavan all with 2 points there, 6th, 7th, or 5th, 6th, and 7th, and then Westmeath bottom. We're both predicting Westmeath to go down and Roscommon to be promoted. But if you have to pick another team to be promoted from this point alongside the Rossies and another team to be relegated alongside Westmeath, what are you thinking?
Whoa. Wasn't expecting this question. Now I'm scared. I think for me, I actually, call me crazy, but I might actually say Meath.
Meath promoted, yeah, obviously. Yeah.
Meath promoted, because I think Cork going away to Monaghan. I think Monaghan might win that one. I think Meath might have what it takes to overturn Monaghan.
Yeah, I think Meath have Monaghan at home, I think, as well. I think they have Monaghan at home. I think in the final game, I think it is their second last game.
I still think Cavan will probably go down with Westmeath.
Yeah, it is interesting though.
Loud. Oh no, I think it could
happen.
Loud still have to play Monaghan. Still have to play. Who else? Meath. Cork. Yeah, difficult games.
Yeah, it'd be interesting as well because Westmeath play Cavan at home next week, and given how good Westmeath looked against Cork at different stages, I know Cavan looked very good as well, getting that win. But a Westmeath win, it just throws it all over the place because they all be on 2 points.
Yeah.
So it would be it would be absolutely crazy if that did happen. But
Westmeath aren't down. That's the other thing. Like they aren't.
They're not completely gone. Yeah, they're not completely gone.
Shake the whole table up.
Yeah. Moving on to Division 3. Laois 23 points, Sligo 16. Massive setback for Sligo. 3 defeats on the bounce in a season where we all thought they were going to be battling for promotion. And a big win for Laois as well, because given a lot of the players that they lost coming into this season, you were a little bit worried about them. Mark Barry's actually been in sensational form. I think he's got double digits in every game so far for Laois. So very, very impressive stuff from him. 10 points in total. But yeah, big win for Laois and a big setback for the Sligo men.
Yeah, massive setback for Sligo and a massive, massive win for Laois. I mean, you look at it this way. Sligo coming into the league, I predicted that they wouldn't get promoted. I predicted that they would finish 4th because I've seen examples in the past that like Division 3 does not care how much hype you appear to have. It will slow you down. Like Down had to miss out on promotion and had to go up then the year after when Laverty was in the second season as Down boss. And they still didn't even win the league. Westmeath beat them. And Westmeath, were Tailteann Cup champions and couldn't get out of Division 3. Like, Division 3 doesn't care. The league table never lies. And what you've done in the championship and the momentum that you appear to have all goes out the window once the league starts. And Sligo are coming into it, off the back of the under-20 All-Ireland successes, Coolera, Strandhill winning Connacht. They've had school success and colleges success and everything like that. And then on top of that, they were really solid in the championship last year, took Galway to within an inch of their lives, and then, took Down all the way in that Tailteann Cup semi-final. They just haven't got going so far in the league. And the thing that I've got wrong is I predicted that they would slip up in games like, for example, the Clare game, the Kildare game. I thought that they'd lose crucial head-to-head games, which would see them slip just under promotion. But I thought that they'd be battling for it. I didn't think they'd be losing games like this. And now they're actually looking over the shoulder at potential relegation back to Division 4, which would be a hammer blow for their progress.
Yeah, absolutely. It would be. Would be a huge
Because
blow.
I think they'll probably be okay. I think Leitrim are definitely down. I don't see Leitrim getting a win in Division 3, unfortunately. Because I've family ties to Leitrim. It's not nice seeing them in that state. But Antrim, I think, could be dangerous.
Yeah, you've got Fermanagh who maybe might be in the mix as well, but I think they'll be okay. We'll get onto them. But yeah, I think it could be Sligo Antrim. You know, it could come down to when they play each other, which would be significant. But yeah, big win for Laois and Justin McNulty as well, it must be said. Speaking of Offaly, or speaking of Antrim, they lost to Offaly 4-19 to 15 points. And it has to be said, Mickey Hart is at the wheel. But look, you have to shout out Declan Kelly and Offaly football in general as well, because after some bleak times last year, they have well and truly turned it around so far, it must be said, after 3 league games.
Yeah, I mean, it's been a good start. They've had 3 good games, 3 good wins. Like, the reality is that they were in a low spot when the Tailteann Cup wrapped up last year. They'd been beaten out the gate in their own home patch by London, and they'd been way off the pace in the Tailteann Cup. And then all of the hype and success was around the hurling. And the fact is they've just worked around and they've just gone about their business. Mickey Hart came in, didn't get the same level of fanfare as you would have imagined that maybe it would have. But pairing him up with Declan Kelly is looking like it was a really shrewd decision, because Declan Kelly has that bond with the under-20 lads that won the All-Ireland with Offaly a few years ago, like the Cormac Egan's, the Jack Bryant's, the Keith O'Neills. And then you have Mickey Hart in with his experience, his winning mentality, his know-how of how to turn golden generations into All-Ireland successes. He did it with Tyrone, and he knows how to do it. And I think if Derry had given him a real fair crack of the whip, I think he could have been the man to take them to an All-Ireland. I just think that they imploded. But I think fair play to Offaly for spotting this opportunity and spotting what he could bring to the table. And so far it's working. Like, you can't deny, so far it's working. And I think it's between them and Clare for who goes up alongside Kildare.
Yeah, Nerb says here, dreadful for Antrim, especially the 2 sending offs. They both Connor Stewart and Connor Hand both sent off, and a couple of minutes from each other as well, from what I've seen. So massive blow there for Antrim in fairness to that. But yeah, the praise has to go to Offaly, like 3 wins on the bounce, and they look very, very good. Gavin says, imagine Division 2 in 2026, 4 Mickey Hart derbies, Derry, Tyrone, Loud and Offaly. I mean, I don't think the world would be ready for that.
I think the Loud one would almost be the most spicy.
Should we just put them in their own league? Put them in, bring them group stages back. Just put them in their own little group and just let them battle it out. And Mickey Hart can just swap between the different teams each week as well.
Whatever he feels like. Remember in training, like, if you ever had I remember in training we used to do when we were younger, used to have, like, if there were 15 lads, you'd do 7 and 7, but then one player would kind of change between whatever team, depending on what team had the ball. So maybe you could do something like that with Mickey. Whichever team is winning, he can go over to their dugout.
There we go. Liam says we'd love to see us back in Division 2. A2 is an interesting question here. Meath give the Dubs a run this year, or is it just another false dawn? They do have nice forwards and a lot of underage talent. Never thought I'd say it, but I'd love to see it. Leinster needs it. And Leinster does need it. And look, there probably is still a bit of a gap, realistically, between your Meath and Kildare and everything else to Dublin.
I'd say next year.
The gap probably is closing a little bit, though, when you look at underage and everything else.
Well, you've got, like, this is the thing that was like, do you know what it was like, actually? I'll give you a very interesting metaphor. What it was like watching Meath and Kildare over the last 2 years, in terms of watching these brilliant minor and under 20 teams come through and win All Irelands at minor level and under 20 level, and win Leinsters and consistently beat Dublin. It was like, when you're staying in, like, a bit of a cheap hotel and you want to make yourself a cup of tea, and you take those like mini milks, those disposable milks, and you pour about 6 in, and the color of your tea doesn't change at all. That was like
Yeah.
that was like Meath and Kildare. It was like I was like, where the fuck is like all these players that have been beating Dublin for the last 5 years, 6 years at under 20 and minor level, and they just hadn't been bringing them through and building the team around them the way that they should have been. Because that thing of like, if you do what you always do, you'll get what you always got. Meath and Kildare weren't near Dublin. They should have built the team around these crop of lads that had grown up beating Dublin at all levels, at minor level, at under 20 level. You look at Jim McGuinness in his first year with Donegal, built the team around the likes of Michael Murphy, around the likes of Paddy McBrearty, who had grown up being on successful Donegal teams. And they were used then to, light the fuse for the lads like Colin McFadden, like Carl Lacey, who were no doubt super talented, but were just used to losing to Tyrone and used to losing to Armagh. And you use that to infuse those lads. Whereas every year it looked like Meath and Kildare fully expected to not only lose to Dublin, but to be beaten out the gate. And that was why Louth completely showed them up last year. When Louth showed up to Croke Park with a game plan of how to beat Dublin off the back of no real success at minor and under 20. But Ger Brennan and Mickey Hart had put together a very cohesive, structured, organised, and really solid team that were coming to Croke Park with a mission, and the mission was to beat Dublin, and they gave it a right good go. And I seriously think that with the talent that Meath and Kildare have at underage, and the talent that they've had for the last 6 or 7 years at these grades, if they get it right, they will beat Dublin. It's not a question of can they. They absolutely can. It's just a question of can they get it right? Because if they can get it right, it's not a matter of if, it's a matter of what year will they do it. But consistently over the last 5 years, I think they've completely messed it up. And Brian Flanagan, for me right now, is the right man at the wheel for Kildare. And Robbie Brennan, for me, is the right man at the wheel for Meath. So let's see where this takes us.
Yeah, and Gavin says, I know the rest of Leinster have young talent, but I was really impressed with the young Dubs against Kerry in fairness. And look, that is an interesting point. I mean, like Dublin, although we haven't had the underage success maybe that Meath and Kildare have had, like we obviously do have, it's a huge club championship. There's so many players there. And there's always players as well that don't necessarily, do well at underage level. Like Dublin have found these players, your Fentons and whatnot.
Pretty much all of the best players over the last 15 years didn't play minor. Fenton, Bernard Brogan
as well.
Hawley. Like none of them. Lorcan O'Dell didn't. And he was brilliant last weekend.
Yeah, it's an interesting one. But look, Kildare, they did win as well. They beat Leitrim, so they're on the way back as well. It must be said, 127 to 7 points. I checked the score at one stage. It was 117 to 1. I don't know what on earth is going on at Leitrim. Like, I don't know. I know Keane, who's tuning in, or Leitrim. Like, I feel like it shouldn't be this bad. I don't know why it's this bad. I haven't seen enough of them to understand why the scorelines are this, are this worrying. But this was a big win for Kildare.
Yeah, this was pretty brutal to look at, just to keep up with the score. I haven't seen the highlights or anything, but it looks pretty bad. Especially when you tuned in and what was it again, 117 to a point or something at one stage.
Yeah,
that's. Do you know what that reminds me of? I've had a couple of games.
That was at halftime. I think that was at halftime as well. Yeah.
I've had a couple of games myself during my club career, no doubt that you have as well, where when you're getting annihilated and you're just like, what am I doing here? How have I ended up in this situation?
If you could literally throw the towel in, you would.
Yeah, if you could actually
just call it.
This is a TKO stoppage in the UFC where they're they just know what way it's going. This game was done before it ever began, and for Leitrim, there's serious problems there. I don't really know what is going on because there seems to be a lot of negativity around them. What is the problem with them?
Yeah, well, obviously they're changing. They had Mickey Graham come in. Mickey Graham then left. Stephen Poacher's come in. Who, from what I've seen of Stephen Poacher and from listening to him and stuff, he does from what I gathered with him, and from his time with Carlo as well, when he was
very
sort of
defensive coach.
yeah, very defensive coach. And I don't know if that hasn't translated into the new rules. That would be my own. If I have to kind of try and put it all together, that's probably what I would say.
Yeah, I'd say that definitely doesn't happen. It's like they're kind of swimming upstream a bit. Everybody's going towards attacking football, and like they're getting annihilated and they're not even scoring big.
Yeah,
like that's the scary bit. If they were racking up 20 points and Kildare were racking up 127, it's like, okay, well, you need to sort out the back, but at least you're scoring. They're miles off it. And the reality is, when the new rules came in, like we said very early on, there's going to be some right beatdowns with these new rules, and we've just seen one. I fear to think what it could be like in Connacht if they run into a Mayo or a Galway.
Yeah, like that is the worry, isn't it? But look, we'll see when that comes around. Clare beat Fermanagh 117 to 115. Big win for Clare. And it probably, I suppose, takes them out of any real relegation trouble, you'd imagine, anyway. And maybe even outside chance of promotion.
Well, I picked them at the start of the year to go up. I genuinely do think that they will. Like, I think you look at players that they have returning to the team, like Owen Cleary, like the impact that he has in the team is absolutely immense. Peter Keane is a good manager. The spell at Kerry didn't go his way, but he still is a good coach and he has good pedigree there. You know, the All-Irelands that he won up through the grades with Kerry before getting the senior job. Like, that's why he got the senior job. In terms of name value, you know, he didn't have the same profile that other people like Jack O'Connor would have had, but he got it based off of his success in the grades under senior. And like, the reality is, in this game, Clare showed their experience in terms of getting over the line. Cleary, Emmett McMahon were very, very solid. Keelan Sexton is back in as well. He was hugely important for Clare over the last few years, and him being missing last year was massive, but he's back in now. I really do believe that Clare will use their bit of wily experience to nip themselves above into that second place and to go up. I think they might just edge out Offaly.
Yeah, and looking at Division 3, so it is Kildare and Offaly with 6 points, 3 wins from 3. Laois are second, ahead of Clare on score difference there, both of 4 points on the board. You've got Fermanagh and Antrim with 2 points, and then Sligo and Leitrim both at the bottom. Big game next week as well for Sligo against Clare. You feel like
that
a win
could be a dangerous one for Clare, just because of how desperate Sligo are for a win. But also, you look at the other side, that could be a really dangerous game for Offaly going away to Fermanagh, who need a win too.
Yeah. There's some interesting games. Antrim, Leitrim. You feel like if Leitrim are going to get anything, maybe it might be against Antrim. But it looks very unlikely in Corrigan Park as well. You know.
Yeah. And Kildare will beat Laois. As good as Laois looked, Kildare on a one-way ticket out of that division.
Yeah, 100%. Division 4, big win here for Wexford versus Carlow, 212 to 9 points, 3 wins on the bounce now for Wexford. They have all, myself and yourself have often talked about Wexford and their inconsistencies and everything else. But this was a huge win. Sean Ryan getting 2-1. So big performance from him.
I don't know if I'm still alive or if Aaron is still alive. I don't know if it's on my side or Aaron's side. But we'll figure out in a minute. Oh, it is just me. Okay, it wasn't. It wasn't Aaron. Apologies, guys. I have no idea how many of you are watching or what game Aaron wanted to talk about next. But here, I can still see the comments, actually. So if you want to, anybody wants to ask me a question or anybody wants to fire a question about the weekend, lead me off onto something. I will briefly talk about this game between Wexford and Carlow. Oh, we have a good comment in here. A2 at 8:16. So this was a while ago, saying you forgot the forfeit last week. Yeah, lads. Honestly, give me some ideas. But while Aaron's out of the chat, give me some ideas. What can I get Aaron to do if I win the forfeit and he loses it? If there's people still watching, what would be a good forfeit for Aaron? And like specific to Aaron. Mikey J here says Leitrim would struggle to win a game in Division 4 this year. Never mind Division 3. Yeah, look, reality is, I don't know what is going on, but not quite there. Liam White, who does Aaron support? I believe he supports Liverpool. So something where he has to buy a Man United. Oh, something where he has to buy a United jersey or something. That might be good. Or he has to do a TikTok wearing a United jersey, like doing a dance or something, saying that he loves United. Yeah. My United top. I'll give Aaron a text here because obviously I can't end the live stream and get on to him. Oh, he's back. It's just calling you. We came up with some good forfeits for you in the meantime while you were gone.
Yeah.
You have to buy a United.
Let's
buy a Man United jersey.
Man United jersey. Wow. Really?
Gary Neville tattoo. Oh, Gavin has a good one there as well.
The green of red of Mayo in a Dublin Championship game. Goodness me, these are pure torture. It was bad enough with the Wi-Fi going out there.
Was that you? Yeah, that was your Wi-Fi going, was it?
Yeah, it was my Wi-Fi. Yeah, I thought we were over them. Those.
I hadn't a clue. Like I was like, is it me?
Yeah, and then the hotspot wouldn't work as well. I don't know what was going on, but yeah. You didn't pick a forfeit actually the last day. So what are you gonna go with?
For you?
For me, yeah, for me.
Do you have to sing the full green and red and Mayo? Or is it the chorus?
I don't know. It's up to you, isn't it?
Oh, God. Because the thing is, you could sing that and kind of make it seem like you're taking the piss, but if you have to buy a United jersey.
Oh.
I'll go with that. And you know what? I'll send you some money towards United jersey. Just to make sure that you get it.
There we are. Sincerely hope you don't win this thing anyway. I was adding up the score though, and I think you might have actually jumped ahead of Seamus or ahead of Matthew, because you did get the Mayo score. So you said by Mayo by 2, and it actually was by 2. So yeah, that kind of brought you up a little bit there. I haven't counted the scores yet. I know Mayo, or I know. Oh geez, my brain's not working here. I know Matthew ended up finishing.
It's not the Wi-Fi that's gone.
Yeah. Matthew was on 10 points, and to be fair, you ended up picking up 4. So I'm just like counting them along as we went along here. So 4, 6, 8, 10. Yeah, I think you are above Matthew anyway. So at least I won't have to buy a Cork jersey, just something.
Yeah, that's not bad. Yeah, I mean,
there we are. We'll look through the other. Yeah. The other Division 4 games. Waterford 9 points, Tipperary 114, London 11 points, Limerick 116. I suppose both results you would have probably expected, it must be said.
Yeah, 2 results that I would have expected there. Limerick needed to bounce back, obviously, after losing to Wexford. Good win away in a very, very tricky location. Like Royslip has always been a proven ground to kind of make things sticky for teams, and for Limerick to get in and get a comfortable win and get out the door with an 8-point victory, like it's solid. And as for Tip, like they're kind of dark horses for promotion. They've been flying under the radar. People have been gradually expecting less and less from them, but like they still have some very good footballers there. Sean O'Connor is obviously the best one that they got, but they're doing okay. And like I definitely think Wexford are going to go up, but I'd probably say Limerick second, but like I wouldn't rule anybody out, to be honest.
Yeah, absolutely. And we'll throw the Division 4 table up in a moment. But big win for Wicklow as well versus Longford,
They
2-15
needed this.
to 12 points. And I don't know what's happened to Longford. Like even with Mike Solan coming in, no Paddy Christie, you were hoping maybe there might be a bit more of a bounce from Longford, but like 1 point from their opening 3 games, so it is fairly bleak for good old Longford there.
Yeah, no, they've got stuck in the mud in Division 4. They really have. Like they went from a team that were constantly pushing in the upper half of Division 3, like, and Longford had over the last 15 years have had some superb players and really, really solid teams, like when they had the Bardens and Shawnee McCormick and Brian Kavanagh and Mickey Quinn and, you know, the McGivneys and like really, really good players. Darren Gallagher, obviously another fantastic player who obviously I'm not sure if he's still involved actually this year, to be honest. But look, they've had a really, really, really good pedigree over the last 15 years, and they've been constantly pushing for a promotion out of Division 3 when they've got it. And then their back-to-back O'Byrne Cup victories kind of gave you false hope that they were going to get out of Division 4. Never happened. Paddy Christie leaves, and I don't think he was the problem, to be honest, because it's just continued. And yeah, I think they've missed the boat for promotion again this year.
Yeah. Like when you think back to last year as well, like losing to Waterford in the Tailteann Cup, like they're probably on form, arguably one of the worst teams in the country, it must be said. But this is how the Division 4 table looks. So Wexford with 6 points there. Tipperary, to be fair, are going very nicely there with 5 points. Wicklow with 4, Limerick with 3, Carlow with 3 points, London with 2 points, and Longford and Waterford down near the bottom. In terms of player of the week and moment of the week, what are you thinking?
I'd be tempted to say Dermot Murtagh for player of the week. He was really, really good for the Rossies. Moment of the week is Michael Murphy coming back in. No question about it. Michael Murphy coming back in and immediately getting 2 points has to be the moment of the week. And as for player of the week, I think Paddy McBrearty is a very good shout for that as well. I thought he was immense. Sean Bugler is another great shout for that. I will go with Dermot Murtagh. I think he was brilliant.
There we go. Farney Fan TV says here, Cork and Inniskeen is a must win if we want to get out of Division 2 this year. And Gaelic Guy says, me doing great, awfully too. In terms of player of the week and moment of the week, look, I'm going to be completely biased here and I'm going to go for Dublin with both to come back versus Kerry. And I'm going to go with Sean Bugler as well, who was outstanding. I thought Kieran Kilkenny actually played very well as well, in fairness. But yeah, that's going to be that. We're going to wrap this up here. Let me know your thoughts, your opinions in the comments down below. Let me know as well your predictions for next week and everything else. And we will have another guest on during the week to see what forfeit they will be if they top the leaderboard at the end. But until then, we will catch you all in the next one.